Hey, what's up guys? Good Saturday morning. Wanted to move my video days to Saturday. Saturday's more like my chill days from now, especially. Give my hands a rest, kind of chill out. The day's looking pretty nice. Want to go outdoors a bit. And I'm actually thinking about learning to play a new sport, potentially my first sport, because even though it's like, even though I'm a big on like health and exercise, I never played sports in school, high school, etc. So I came across this book I'm reading where they're saying that it can be a lot more meditative when you actually have a purpose in the exercise, like chasing a ball, let's say, because your mind doesn't have the freedom to just wander, which it can while you're running. You can just still think of anything you want. Even in weightlifting, you take a minute rest between sets and you can just wander around your mind. But if you're something like tennis, which what I'm planning to do, you're just like thinking of the ball. And in the end, the idea is that not only your body gets a good exercise and release, but also your mind. So having that said, let's get to the topic at hand, which is basically, I wanted to make a video about, just basically like one of the common denominators that I see in my thoughts, especially as I'm trying to solve and kind of like, work my way around some of the challenges of growing an agency. And what I realized is a lot of the problems you come across, whether it be all the way from getting clients, onboarding clients, setting them up for success, the delivery side, within the delivery side, all the way from low level activities like building citations, socials, whatever, all the way up to like high level stuff, more technical like on page SEO, etc. All of this stuff, who's gonna do it, and all these kind of questions, how are you going to hiring, etc. Can be all of these things are affected by your volume of sales and the prediction of sales that you expect it to come, right? Like how many clients you think you're going to be able to bring in on a month-to-month basis. So I wanted to kind of break that down, what that looks like and why it can literally like change your complete structure and answer. And basically what I'll do is I'll talk about, let's say, like 2 or 3 levels of sales that you bring, like amount of effort, let's say, right? Like a beginner, the type of effort he puts, then somebody who's like, takes sales seriously, and then somebody who's like really going hard at sales, what kind of clients you can, generally see and expect, and how that affects the different topics I just mentioned, okay? Let's just get into it so you can see how this plays out. So let's start here. First of all, let's say like novice sales guy, right? By that, I don't mean that, the person doesn't necessarily know how to sell. What I mean is that he's just not getting that many sales, which usually means he doesn't know how to sell, right? But it just means that you're putting enough effort to get around like a beginner, let's say around 3 to 4 clients a year, right? So if you've been watching my videos, this is kind of where I was about beginning of 2018, right? More so, where I was like learning the sales part still a little bit, discovering that video audits work, stuff like that, properly trying to schedule my day and figuring out the delivery side. That's like around the time when I'm actually learning maps. Like recently got introduced to maps. Before that, I was just doing like trying to do organic and stuff. So a lot of the stuff was like not in place, right? And looking back, at that time, I didn't know like where I fall in, like the range. I was just trying my best to do whatever I can. But at the rate of sales that was coming in is around, I would say 3 to 4 a year, right? With that kind of action. And if I had to bring it to a number, like, practical number of actions I was taking, etc., that would look something like I try, let's say, 2 to 3 types of sales strategies at the same time. So there'd be like, I think at that time I was trying cold email. I was also trying calling time to time. I wouldn't do anything for too long at a time. I would kind of like do certain things and then like hop over, stuff like that. And that's why, that's the whole idea of why you get around only 2 to 4 clients in the whole year, right? And at that time, if you think about how your onboarding and all that stuff is affected, usually you don't even have it figured out. So that's one thing I wanted to label out, because in previous videos, I sometimes said that, oh, I should have started documenting from the very beginning. Well, in a way, you really can't document fully when you're a complete beginner, because you don't even know what works. So just to give you an idea of what the first level looks like, okay? That you're kind of like just dabbling around. Within link building, you're trying out different vendors. Within like onboarding, you're maybe not even trying out anything in onboarding. You don't even think of that as a thing. You just think of like asking them for their stuff, because that's the only client you have. You don't need a process for onboarding, because you're like, oh shit, I finally got a client. You know, let me just talk to him until I get everything. And that's like how that is, right? You're just one person. And the only advantage you have, the advantage you have at that time is the communication is instantaneous. Like within the departments of your organization, the communication is like, is there's no flaw in it. It's just you. Like it's the communication is brought from your brain signal to your hand, go do this and stuff like that. So it's only you, you're just doing everything. That's like the level 1, okay? So I'll do like 2 more levels, because that was like extremely beginner level. So like I'll do like 2 more stages, let's say, for sales effort and how it affects everything. The next part could be once you get to a point where you're serious, like you could say you're a salesman now, right? If there's one thing about being in sales and trying to do sales and learning sales and, you know, improving your sales, and another thing to be a salesman. A salesman is somebody who, in my definition, dedicates a part of his day to selling. Definition of selling is dialing the phone, sending emails, following up with prospects and turning them into, you know, down the line for, you know, advancing them through the line so they can turn into paying clients. They have some kind of process in place. Even if it's not structured out somewhere really well, they take action repetitively on a day-to-day basis. So what that would look like, again, to bring it to practical terms, would be something like probably what I was being able to get into by like mid to end of 2018, right? Where yes, there was months where I'm taking off sales because I'm trying to, you know, build on delivery side, which I still go through now. But when I sell, I have a process, and it's really only one main strategy that I use, right? And you guys know my strategy of sales, but it's interesting, right? Like really, when it comes down to it, when you really look out of all the ways to get clients, the people who are successful usually have one major way that works really well, and they stay within that sector that brings most of their clients. Maybe they'll get some other things with here and there with some other stuff they're doing, but that's like their main thing, right? So the point there is you're spending, let's say, I would say to be a salesman, you're at least spending half of your time, like 50% of your total time in the business directly selling. Usually that would be around 3 to 4 hours a day, Monday to Friday. That's, I would say, as a start. So, you know, what would that look like is, you know, from my strategy, maybe 2 to 4 hours you're calling, and you're taking 2 hours more to send the videos, like that. That's like a wave, right? That's like overall, it could be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of selling per day on the weeks or months you're selling. And then, you know, after you do that for like, you know, a week or two, then follow-ups start coming in and presentations, and then maybe you dial the number of calling and or video sending a little bit down so you can still have time to do some presentations here and there. But point is, that is a pretty good strategy. In the number of clients you can get from that kind of action is about 1 a month, right? If you take that kind of action week in, week out, it's going to be very difficult for you to not get a client, 1 per month. And now we can get an idea, and it comes down to more repetitive terms, right? We can see, okay, 1 client a month is going to be brought in from this kind of action. How would the delivery side and all the other stuff work out at this rate? Because now you're in a position where by the end of the year, you'll have a 6-figure business. You'll get 12 clients. And what that would look like is basically like this. Do you need somebody to do on-page? Do you need to hire somebody for on-page? The answer would be no. Because if you're getting one client a month, and since something like on page, even this like high level technical, you can still do that yourself, right? You being the business owner, if you're the one who's also doing the SEO, you don't really need that much time freed up, especially with like big things like this that are very important and only needs to be done one time. Majority of on page, right? Yeah, you can tweak stuff later on, but the big bulk of it is done one time. And with that range of sales, you could handle that. That's completely fine. So you could be the person who does on page and stuff. Whether you pick services or you're gonna have your VAs do certain things like citation stuff, I would recommend very bottom level stuff, just doing services. But within like a bit higher than that, like whatever you do, it really depends on what kind of product you deliver. But let's say optimizing GMB and stuff like that, you get one VA. At that rate, it's important to get at least one VA, right? I would say at least one VA to help you with all that kind of stuff, fulfillment. But you're still doing on page, onboarding, anything like high level technical strategy of the client, how to make them successful, all that kind of stuff, reporting and everything to the client, you're doing it yourself, management, all that kind of stuff, you can do it yourself, right? Like it's basically you. I had the benefit of having my girlfriend at that time to help me through that all that process, but basically you get the idea. One client a month, you can manage it a lot of it yourself with one VA. And then as you get around 12, 13, 14 clients, you can get a second VA to help you do the same kind of stuff. Maybe he can have some SEO experience from before, like just basic stuff, not something crazy. And he can help you some of the, research stuff of competitive analysis, et cetera, et cetera. Like I don't get too much into the actual delivery side because I know it differs from people to people, but you get the idea of the level I'm talking about. A lot of the stuff can still be you, and you can get to a pretty good amount, scale your agency to a decent level. I don't know, 30K, 40K per month in that manner, right? So especially if you're pretty good with the SEO yourself, and you're able to like teach and create some basic systems to follow through with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else important here to say before I go into the next part, because that's where it gets really important. And this is where the dilemma comes in and where I don't have all the answers. The next part of sales level and effort is, so this was like, the middle one was like a salesman, right? Like, like 4 to 6 hours a day on good months, good weeks, you're spending in sales, okay? Salesman. Yeah, let's call it like novice sales, sales novice, salesman. And the last one that I would say as a single person is when you're like, it's like demon level sales. Like you're just selling. You're not worrying about anything else. Like it's another level. Like in terms of your mindset is just to bring in sales. Like it's gonna be hard for a plumber to come in the house and not get pitched. It's gonna be this is the time when you even have trouble staying in your niche, because if you come across other people while you're driving, you want to just call the truck because you see their phone number in the back. Yeah, they're a landscaper, I do roofing, let me just call it. Like you're like really driven to just sell. You're calling full-time or more, right? So like this is like around the times when I say I'm going hard, I call like more than 6 to 8 hours, and then I make up with videos, and then on top of that I have follow-ups. It's almost like I want to get my numbers in, then I just throw myself like, okay, now go do whatever you got to do to send these videos to these guys, make these contacts and follow-ups, and any presentations you have, you fit it in the schedule, but do not affect the number of call volume. Don't take it out of the schedule, right? Meaning when I onboard somebody, I don't even finish completely getting all their info because I send it to my team, to my girlfriend. Hey, client just came in, payment came in, here, deal with this. And I go back into sales, right? So that's like what I would call demon level. Like you're just hardcore sales, full-time or more. So you're actually selling more than 40 hours a week. And the mindset between these is completely different, right? Like this is like completely going haywire. Sales at all possible, like ultimate amount of sales at all possible costs. This one would be like a nice motto for the middle one would be like sell during the day, delivering during the night, right? In the daytime, you're selling and stuff. In the evenings, you take your time to deliver and learn SEO and stuff like that, right? It's a pretty good one. It can take you, like it brought me most of where I'm at, the middle level. And then the first one is like, you just don't know what the hell you're doing, right? So just to give you an idea of how different they are. Now, let's talk about the demon level sales as one person. What kind of expectations can you have? This is when things starts to become exponential, right? Like if you call, like, you guys get the point, exponential. Like the hours you put in the middle one and you can get a client is not the same hours here. You get more for per hour because all you're doing is sales. There's certain things that happen when you're only doing one thing that you start seeing around the corners that you normally just don't when you have 5 other things going on, right? Receptionists, you don't just get their name and stuff like that. You ask them extra questions. Through the reception, you find out how many jobs they've been doing per week. Boom. Now you know where they're sitting at, what kind of things they can afford. You go extra miles. You get more mileage from your calls. You get more mileage from your videos. You follow up extra hard. You don't follow up just once a day and then you kind of like drop the ball the rest of the week. You follow up every day, maybe different times of the day. So you can catch the people who didn't catch the day before because they are busy at different times of the day because the times they're in the United States and their business structure. All this kind of shit starts to like compile. And since you're only doing one thing, I would say you can expect 3 to 6 sales per month. A good average would be a client a week, right? At the sales team as one person, just pure with the phone and email and just going at it. A client a week, right? Now, how this affects the delivery side is pretty interesting because at a client a week and with that level of volume and sales that you're bringing in by yourself, you don't really have much time for any other thing, including something even one time, such as on-page SEO. You could do it, but it will slow you down. Reporting is completely different at this level versus even the mid-level. Because unlike what other people say, if you're getting one client a month, I would say it's fine to talk to your clients. They're paying you whatever, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, whatever it is. It's okay, especially for the higher paying ones. You can talk to them. You can talk to all of them. Like whenever they need something, set expectations, don't be a fucking slave. But you can talk to your clients, keep them calm. Your mouth is very hard to replace it with digital reporting. It's very hard. So you can keep talking to them and it's fine. You're getting one client a month. You're doing the on-page and main technical stuff and strategy and everything and making sure they're successful and still figure out certain things on the delivery side and still doing most of the client reporting. But reporting on the demon level is kind of starts to become twisted because even if you have to talk to one client, let's say once a month, and you have like 30 clients, that's still some kind of probability you don't know every day, even if one client happened every month, right? One time. If a client gives you some weird stuff and it takes you a couple hours of your day, you're gonna be falling behind because you have a volume of numbers you wanna hit, volume of numbers you wanna send in email, whatever you wanna do. It's a pretty high amount of output you're trying to get in the sales side. And you can't really deal with like just people who are gonna nag you, right? This is where it becomes really important for you to have the delivery side spot on and actually bringing results because otherwise it's gonna start to crumble on itself. But let's keep going. Bringing it down to numbers, in the middle level, if you're getting one client a month and you're talking to all of them, it's fine because then your mouth is keeping a stability in the client satisfaction. But here, if you were to do the same thing, you might be losing because let's say over the course of the year, maybe 2 or 3 clients would cancel strictly because lack of, let's say, customer service, or you're not talking to them. Well, that's a big deal in the mid-level because your whole business is about let's say 10K a month and you're losing 2 to 3 clients could bring you to maybe like 5 or 6K a month. And that's pretty scary. But here, even if you're not able to talk to all of them and answer all like naggy questions, and you just like put it aside and let's say, you know, make it some kind of automated system, and maybe one of your team member handles it, and maybe it's not that good as you doing it, so you lose like, you know, 2-3 clients. It's not that big of a deal, because you not doing that is causing you to get 3 to 4 clients every month, right? So the volume just dictated how you're going to address this thing. Well, if you played out the scenario, you'll be able to see that a lot of this goes like that. I just talked about on page. You can't do it. You don't have time to like get into all that stuff because you're selling. You're really honing in that part. You'd have to either get a service or hire somebody in-house or whatever, you know, who's high level to replace your that part of it. Reporting. Either get some automated reporting in place along with like you know, teaching your you know, somebody for doing customer service or something like that. But whatever it is, whatever your strategy is, you have to get something in place, because at demon level sales, you wouldn't want to get too run down by other stuff coming in, and that take you away from what you're doing best. All right. So I think I'm forgetting some other stuff I wanted to say. I just wanted to lay this out, just, you know, thinking my thoughts out loud and try to, you know, bring some structure to it, because I think it's pretty interesting how like it is like the answers completely change by your volume of sales you're bringing in, because there's only that many hours of the day, only that much you can do, and there's so much more benefit when you do a single thing to a high level, so that you know, when you're going down the ranks of what are you going to spend your time in, it really kind of starts to shape up who you need to bring in next, so you can keep doing what you do. So I'll end with this. If I had to be a position where I wanted to sell, I would need an answer for a high-level technician on page and things are being taken care of. Maybe strategy I can do myself, because that's something very important, or maybe with the technician. But after that, everything else needs to be more or less automated. Even collecting their name, address, phone number, correct stuff, onboarding info, all that stuff needs to be just done by either a receptionist or somebody else, for me to be completely best at my part, right? If you're a complete beginner, this might be kind of hard to see, because you might be thinking like, on page it just takes like, you know, 4 or 5 hours and it's only one per client. So even if you get one client a week, why can't you do it? It just doesn't work like that, because as you got one client in, remember the next client is coming in 4 or 5 days from now. So you are gonna be putting that energy through and throughout, day in, day out, to make sure that volume keeps coming in. So that's that. All right. So hope that helped, guys. I know it's kind of like theory all over, but it is kind of it is built over my experience. So you know, hope that was interesting to you at the least, and peace.